Hello
Very
and
good.
welcome to Stripping the Dipping. You're joined by your usual co-host, Denzel Clarkson, aka the Smooth Operator. And I'm managing a code, but I'm gonna continue to soldier through because I know you're gonna dig this. Because today we have quite a special guest, and he's very smooth, almost smooth as a smooth criminal. He plays in the sunshine and he likes to play in the moonlight, but you can't blame it on the boogie. And he's in charge of the rhythm, and he certainly gives us a thriller. So you might be wondering why I'm talking in riddles, and I was hoping that you might get a hint from some of those. But this is because it's this guy, like this guest is so legendary for us. Michael Jackson actually named him Sugarfoot. So guys, it's the one, it's the only Jonathan Sugarfoot Moffett. Welcome to the show, Jonathan. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. I know it's a very tight schedule today, but how have you been keeping recently?
First of all, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it, and I'm doing very well today. I'm very good. I'm working on my music in the studio to bring to the fans, and I got a lot of things. In other words, is in store. That's why my schedule's so busy. New videos coming towards you. So I'm loving being busy after so much downtime with COVID, which pretty much stops everybody on Earth's career and lives. So it's a wonderful thing to be busy again.
That's so true, and definitely we're really happy, from our perspective that you're being kept busy, and obviously that life has almost resumed in a way, and there's so many opportunities and new things to be excited about as well. So, without further ado, Jonathan, I'd like to start this conversation by going maybe a bit back in time, back in 1979. I'm sure that you've got a lot of positive memories of back in the Jackson Destiny tour in the year of '79, with all the Hollywood buzz and excitement back then as well. But what we wanted to find out from you, Jonathan, was how did your musical journey begin? And how did you end up working with Michael Jackson and getting such an awesome nickname?
Well, I'm gonna need about 3 hours for that answer.
We have all day. We're here for it.
it's, it's, but I only have a few minutes. But it's a very mystical, magical, and when you do hear the story, I have to explain it another time in more detail.
Mhm.
You will believe in miracles, and you will get chills on your arm just like everybody else when I tell the full stories. But it takes so much time to do that now. And to overview, I just took a chance and drove out to California because Michael's brother, Jermaine Jackson, heard me on a band's tape from New Orleans that I was with, and he said, "Who's that drummer?" To a friend of mine that was from New Orleans that moved out here, and he told him my name. And Jermaine said, "Get him out here. I want to work with him." Well, that was in the middle of January 1979, and so I was supposed to meet with Jermaine and kept getting delayed. His schedule was busy, like pretty much like mine is now, and I never got to meet with him. In the meantime, I got lost on a freeway. Ran into a friend of mine named James McField, who happened to be the musical director for the Jackson Brothers. And so I ran into him by mistake, taking the wrong freeway, and found his exit name, and got off at the freeway and got to a red light. This is the abbreviated version of it. Got to a red light after I got off the freeway. I saw the name of his street. I said, "That's Norman Avenue. That's where James lived. I got to get off now. I'll never find it again." Because I happened to find it by chance getting lost on freeways. So I said, "I'll never find it again. I'm going to get off here." And I got to find my way back to where I was staying. I was lost. So got off at that exit, turned right, pull up to a red light, and there was James on a payphone. I was after all the blocks and streets and homes on all those streets that run like 30 miles. I said, I don't know his address. I just know Normandy Avenue. I said, how am I going to find him? I said, I'll just drive up and down the boulevard, Normandy Avenue, I should say, and just get familiar with it a little bit. So if I can find my way back here, I know what it looks like. I turned right after getting off the freeway exit, pull up to the light, and looked over to the left, and he was on the payphone. Is that
Wow.
miraculous or what?
Just it
I
goes
didn't
to
have
show
to
you.
search for him. Just didn't have to search for him. He was right there. And I said, James McField. And he turned around and looked and said, Foot. He called me Foot. Sugarfoot, is that you? And I said, yes, yes. So he told me to go down to the middle of the block, pull up the middle of the block. I live there. And I pulled up down there, parked, and we were so glad to see each other. We hadn't seen each other in many, many years. And I went in. He started telling me all these exciting stories about. He just got back from Trinidad with the Jacksons, and it was on a beach, set up on the beach for a concert on the beach. That sounded exciting and thrilling to me. And I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. So he's relating all these touring stories, and then I got excited, so excited. I said, wait, James. I said, I know that the drummer for the Jacksons from the Jackson 5 is their cousin, Johnny Jackson. I said, but if they ever need a drummer, please tell them that I'm in town, because he had been telling them about me since 75 when he first moved out there. And he had joined them in 75. And I moved out there in January 79. So he said all them years used to come brothers about you and stuff. So, and finally, I just told him, look, I know the Jackson's drummer is their cousin, but if they ever need a drummer, tell them I'm in town, and I'll be so excited to work with them. He stopped, grabbed my arm and stopped me and said, oh, Sugarfoot, guess what? I said, what? He said, they let Johnny go and they're auditioning drummers right now. Is that a
Wow.
miracle or what? He said, he said, then he said, I said, oh, tell him, I love to do it. He said, wait, today is the last day of auditions. They've already got somebody coming in. They've been auditioning for 2 weeks. So I proceeded to beg him, say, just ask him, please, just extend it a day. Give me a chance. And he said, I'll do that. I'll go there tonight, the rehearsals, the audition, and I'll ask them. And I'll tell them you're in town and you want a chance. He said, I'll call you later tonight. By 11:30 that night, I'm pacing found my way back home. He showed me how to get back to where I was lost from. And I was pacing around, and finally the phone rang, and the gentleman whose house I was staying at temporarily, he called me to the room, said, this is a phone call. And I got on the phone, and James McField said, the brothers have decided to give you a chance. Be at Mother's house, Havenhurst, at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. They extended the audition. They're going to give you a chance. They want to hear you. And the rest is history. That's why I'm talking to you in this interview, because it all
Wow.
started from that point.
That is such a good, feel good story, Jonathan. And again, it just goes to show. I mean, you say it was miraculous, and I guess in certain aspects it was, with you finding James kind of in that street as well. But at the same time, I'm a firm believer that, if you take leaps of faith, and obviously for you, it must have been a big leap of faith at that time to move all the way to California just for that kind of opportunity. And then for everything to fall together in such an organic way as well shows you that, you can never give up. And if you keep optimistic, if you continue to kind of apply yourself and do the right things at the right time, then there's always going to be great opportunities. And I couldn't think of a better person, that's happened to in that regard. So that's such an awesome story. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers and listeners are going to take inspiration from that as well, Jonathan. So thank you for that. To move to the next question, this question is from a fan, and it's more just on the theme of dealing with performance anxiety. Because even for me, I kind of relate to it in a sense, because I was gigging in a funk rock band for a couple of years playing guitar, and I always remember having a few nerves before the start of a show, and trying to put that to the back of my mind, especially in the smaller venues, where things are a bit more intimate in that way. And of course, my experiences are only a microcosm compared to your experiences touring with the Jacksons. But it's well documented, Jonathan, that in some instances you only had 3 days to learn the materials with the Jacksons when you're performing with them on stage. How do you recall that entire experience, and what was going through your mind when you were on stage? And what advice do you also have for the young hoppers out there that are now trying to make their moves on tour with us moving away from the pandemic?
Well, as a matter of mind over matter, as a
Mhm.
matter of also knowing the circumstance and the situation that you're in, and equating it and evaluating it, and making the strength of decision that you need to make. Mine was that when I first got one, like you said, I only had 3 days to learn everything. One of the other handicaps I had is, and I still have, is I don't read music, so I can't make charts and write it all out to just basically read it through, and that'd be easy. I don't never learn how to read drum charts and stuff. So that was another dilemma I was in. Everything had to come from memory. Me listening, learning, absorbing it, and digesting it mentally and emotionally, and then reproducing it or replicating it as it was that on the record, and as close to that as possible, with some embellishment of my own spirit on it. So I was that's important as well, and my energy. So that's what I did. But the thing of mind on the over matter statement means that when you know you're in a tight and a very delicate and a very important situation, that you're trying to achieve something, it's no time to get nervous. It's your worst time to get nervous. And if you've done this for a number of years, meaning playing your instrument and been on stage of any kind, you know what it takes already. Now, this is a higher level. You can get a little more nervous and more intense about it. But at the same time, if you stay a statement like I did and I do, this is no meaning. This is not the time to get nervous, because guess what? When you get nervous, what happens? You make mistakes.
True.
You can't perform it correctly. And when you make mistakes, they think about the next person that could get to replace you because you make too many mistakes because you're nervous, or they may not even know that you're nervous. It's just that you're making mistakes and they can't have that on a professional level. So my motto is that I'd say to myself, I cannot make mistakes. There's no time to get nervous. Just do what you do, how you've done it before, that got them interested in you. So, and give you the chance. So my thing was to concentrate very hard, block everything else in my life out. When the song has been chosen to play, learn, and I've already listened to the parts, just replicate the parts, duplicate it. And once you do it, and they said that was great, or that was good, that was right, then you lock spiritual memory as well. All I have to do, like a Canon copier, copy it, copy it, copy it. Every performance, do the same thing, same concentration, same execution, and you're good. You have no problems, no worries. But you have to focus and concentrate, and not allow yourself to think about the things and elements of it all that makes you nervous, and that gets you that. When you dwell on those things, your nervous system going to be frazzled, and you're going to make mistakes and stuff, and you're going to be over judging yourself because you're unsure. Uncertainty causes mistakes. So if you learn it and you really do your due diligence learning it correctly, you're good. So that was my mentality I developed right there from that day, and I got the audition, and we did the first rehearsals. And yes, you're a little nervous because you're around these stars that you admire. I was a big Jackson 5 fan as well, like everybody else. But it wasn't the time to dwell on that. I was dwelling on I got the gig, how to keep the gig is what's important now. So that took 100% focus and concentration on the gig and on the job at hand, the songs, listening intently to their instructions so I won't make a mistake and misjudge what they're saying. I need to know exactly what they want, what they're saying. And all of these elements of mind control and spiritual control will help you maintain your excellence, or gain your excellence and maintain it. And they'll want you forever. And that's the things, that's how I deal with that and everybody else I've worked with. It's not the time to be nervous, because if you're nervous, you're going to make mistakes, and then you might not be there the next day.
That's so true. And Jonathan, that was a very powerful answer as well. Like, I think the key takes you've said from there is just like mind over matter, no time to get nervous, which I'm sure a lot of our listeners will take that on board as well. Having that confidence and reassurance, but that comes through practice. And of course, as well, probably another discussion we'll have, I hope we can get you on for another day to discuss, is, the whole kind of classical training, like musician versus like the musician that listens by ear. Because for me as well, like my parents couldn't afford to they could barely about just get me a classical guitar from like the local pawn shop. So getting lessons back then was like a non-event. They just said you have to listen to records and use your ear sound to work it out. And that's how I progressed, in my kind of like earlier kind of career. But I think we definitely need a full kind of episode on that too. But to move to the next question, Jonathan. We know as like
Yes.
you being an iconic drummer, a musician with such a decorated career as well, and you've worked with some huge names, in the music world, such as Madonna, George Michael, Elton John, Stevie Wonder, Janet Jackson, just to name a few. What has it been like to work with them, and do you have any funny or memorable stories you could share with us in relation to them?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, it's been like the last 43 years I've been doing this professionally,
Hmm.
and since I came out here, drove out here 3,200 miles from New Orleans, Louisiana, and it's been a little boy's dream come true on steroids. Because I always imagined being with one major artist when I come out here, and that was the rest of my life. Encyclopedia of major people in the music industry that affected and kind of formulated the music industry with their creations and their artistry, and the highest level of regard in the industry. I never imagined I would have had such a career that I've been blessed and graced and had with so many different artists of different genres. And a lot of them are pop and R&B field, but they're still slightly different. So different genres of music. I've done a lot of rock stuff too. So it's beyond the little boy's dream in New Orleans he had of trying to make it, so to speak, in the music industry by being a drummer for the stars. I thought maybe if there was a chance, it would be one like just the Jacksons. But the people would hear me with them, and then they would call. Lionel Richie called. Then Cameo called. The leader for Cameo, Larry Bradman called. I did
Wow.
38 years off and on with Cameo. And then of course everything. Madonna saw me on the Jackson Victory Tour at Dodger Stadium and told her manager, because the manager told me, she said, "That's my drummer." because that was Madonna's right before her first tour, the Virgin tour. She said, "That's my
Wow.
drummer. That's my drummer. Get him." He said, "Well, I know him because I managed the Jacksons when he joined the Jacksons." So it was like everything is magical that happened to me in my career. So it just so happens her manager, new manager, was with me. I was with him, so to speak, the Jacksons, on my first tour ever in March of '79, and he was managing the Jacksons. So he said, "Well, that's easy. I can get him." I worked with him before. And so anyway, so that's how I got to with Madonna and did the Virgin tour, her first tour, and from that I did the True Blue album. Then I did the Dick Tracy album. Then I did Like a Prayer album. That's me playing on Like a Prayer, the song. That's me playing on Open Your Heart, Live to Tell, Keep It Together, and a lot of other hit songs of Madonna's I played on from her sitting at Dodger Stadium and hear me and watch me and hear me play with the Jackson Brothers in 1984. 1985, I was with her and did 5 years with her. So it's more than a dream come true, beyond the dream that I had come true, that I was able to do the career of so many incredible artists of different beautiful styles of music, interpretations of music, and it helped me grow as a musician, as a songwriter, a producer, by working under them and under their wing. So I was all eyes, all ears, all spirituality, and work when I work with them to absorb as much like as I can, like a sponge, and just absorbing creativity at its highest level. So it's benefited me a lot in my career.
That's so inspiring to hear, Jonathan. And it's just amazing how, like you mentioned, like you would have probably just been happy with it just being one kind of like superstar artist you get to work with. But then with your illustrious career, like you've managed to just open one door to another door and another door. And it's a testament to your talent and also your versatility to kind of pick up on those different styles and to get in the nuances and really feel the vibe of the music as well. Because music is not just like a sound, it's a vibe, it's a feeling, more than anything else as well. And on the theme of that, I think it's a great segue onto our next question, Jonathan, because I actually told my mom I was interviewing you today, and she almost had a fangirl moment too. And I said to mom, I was like, Mom, when you listen to Michael's music and you obviously hear Jonathan's drumming, or you hear the bass, or you hear the guitar, or the piano, or like all the instrumentation, what words could you describe Michael Jackson's music with? And she said, son, timeless, touching, omnipotent, uplifting. And in her words, she's like, Michael's music and just that generation of music, it just transcends time, generations, culture, races. And the question out of all of this, really, Jonathan, is what do you believe is the key to Michael's music being so revolutionary? And like, what's the magic behind it being so relevant today?
I believe it's Michael's sensitivity, his deep depth of sensitivity, his deep depth of creativity, and every art.
Oh, Jonathan, I don't think we can hear you. Oh no.
With
Hopefully. Hi there, Jonathan. Your
Hello.
connection, it's cutting in and out there.
Hello.
I think you were just touching on
Can you hear
like, the creativity part. Yeah, we can hear you now.
me? Spiritually and closer. I say I was equated to being closer to the source, which is God. And heavenly grounding. And I think people like Michael, Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin, uh, um, and with deep creativity, Prince, but mostly so you can feel it in Michael's spirituality, the depth of his spirit, and Stevie Wonder, and for certain, when they sing and they deliver, and the degree of Michael's artistry of dance, he is like they say, he is the dance. He becomes the dance. He is. And when he sings, you hear and feel so much deeper emotion than the average singer. I don't care if they're a pop star, rock star, whatever. They don't
Mm,
sing with the depth of sensitivity Michael does, and the purity of the soul and the spirit he can deliver it on, because he really more deeply feels what he sings, and more deeply feels the notes and feels the melodies and feels the words, and he delivers them. That's why he can. That's why people feel it from him deeper, because he has a greater sense of depth of sensitivity, that which is close, being spiritually closer to the source of spirituality than other people. Some artists are got deep sensitivity, but not to the degree that Michael was endowed with when he was born,
mm,
and I could say certain other artists as well, Stevie, and that's why they deliver more spiritually when they sing, and that's why you feel it greater than if you heard another singer singing it, and it translates and you relate to it deeper in your spirit and soul, because they come from a deeper, more emotional place with their gift and their talent and their delivery. They sing it from the core, because the earth has a core, everything else is like that's like the founded on the earth is the undersurface of the upper ground, but you get down to the core, you're closer to the magma of the spirit. Michael was there. He was like from that place that's closer to the magma of the spirit. So that's why he can relate to so many generations, 5, 6 generations of people, because he was gifted with that kind of translation that is derived from a deeper place than most everybody else. And I play, and I feel that when he and I, that's why he always wanted me with him. We was on the same level. We both felt that place, and he felt that in me. So, because when I play, I feel something like otherworldly, and I tell people I get out of the way and I let God play the drums. That's why the people feel my beats and more because I'm coming from a deeper place. Not the figures that I'm playing and the complexities of them or the simplicity of them. It's the soul that I put on. It's the feel. It's the attitude, the swing, and those things. It's called how much, not how much you study. Some of those things are not even studied. You got to have that in your born sensitivity, your born relativity to the soul and the depth of soul. So it's in essence sensitivity. Michael was very deeply sensitive. That's why a lot of things hurt him more than any other man would, because he would stand it. But Michael was emotionally sensitive, and that's why he could translate it and make you feel his depths of sensitivity. And his music will last forever, never get old, because those albums were done in the early '80s. Here we are, 2022. You put on any one of those songs from Michael's albums, Thriller or Off the Wall, Bad. Most of those two, three albums where the magic really would happen on Off the Wall and Thriller. This sounded like they were cut yesterday, from the time of yesterday, last year, not that far away. They're still very relevant. Musically, the delivery of his talent and gifts, and the song arrangements and production. It was a magical time back then. It's his perfect timing for his perfect gifts, and that's why we have them today and still enjoy them, appreciate them like they were just written, just performed.
That was such a great answer, Jonathan, and I definitely agree with you as well in terms of like the depth of sensitivity as you touched there as well. I also feel like it's an upbringing thing, when you've lived something, when you've come from a particular background and you've gone through those struggles, and then you've grown through them and you understand your emotions, like you've explained with Michael as well. And then I think another great thing, which is a cool segue to the next question, is you feeling in the same space, the same spiritual connection as Michael. And kind of the next question we're going to get onto is that, we know that you hold Michael, and so do we, like we hold him so closely to our hearts. And unfortunately, like throughout his career, I feel that, there were some scandals and controversies, and the media, I believe, were very unfair in the way they treated him, the way they harassed him, the way they judged him, I felt was very wrong. And I think, when people look back on it, they have a lot of remorse, and so they should, for the way they treated Michael. But just from your perspective, Jonathan, what was like MJ like as a person outside of music? How would you like? Could you touch in maybe a bit like deeper with your friendship with him and just how he was as a person?
Well, he was unusual in the sense that you can feel that spirituality in him just in his presence of state of being. He was something different. When a door opened, you walked in a room, the molecules in the air change. You feel like you can pinch the air and pick out, oh, here's a red one, here's a blue one. Wow, look at that green, that emerald green one. That's the molecules in the air. You felt like they slowed down and was moving in slow motion. Something with Michael's presence. He had that power, and that comes from, like I said, that closer to the source spirituality, and it emanated from him. And it was part of him, and not only as part of his stage life, but part of his regular life, who he was and how he was. Always wonder what's on his mind. He's always smiling. He's always pleasant. Michael's very, very wonderful human being. And you get in this world, yeah, a lot of things become business and stuff like that. He's a true businessman in a lot of ways, but the core of Michael and how his soul came to this earth and this place, this plane of life, it was intact to a greater degree. A lot of people get corrupted by the world, his was been more intact, and part of that was due to the grooming of Michael when he was a young boy. You come here with that kind of spirituality, depth of spirituality, but you got to have the nurturers around you. And his mother, I call her mother, she was wonderful, a wonderful human being, still is. She's still with us. She's a wonderful spirited human being, and she raised him in such a wonderful way, and educated him in sensitivity and care for others, and things in life, small and large, meaning something more than their existence. And she groomed him spiritually, so she knew she had a person of light in her bloodline that was born into the world. And of all the brothers, she was the one that the light drew her into him more, because he was so sensitive, and she knew he was one that needed to be protected, because he's recognized when somebody that deeply sensitive. So um, she groomed Michael to be the person of the human being that he became and he was. But there was traces of it that I heard in the stories, for before he became a star, that he was like that. He was like the fawn of the what you call it, baby, what you call it, baby fawn, delicate, sensitive, vulnerable to the world,
Hmm.
and needed care, extra care. And that's what he was, and that's how his mother raised him in the early years. And he grew into a beautiful deer of a person, like a grown fawn turns into a beautiful deer that was always pleasant, just I should say, gracing the earth, and not I should say, there's a lot of, like you say, controversies, but basically he was like wandering the earth, sharing his gifts and sprinkling his love around the world as much as he could. And like deers don't bother anybody. They just wander in the woods and eat and what they like to eat, and they're no harm to anyone. Michael's sort of like that, and that's why he can write such sensitive lyrics that has such great meaning. That's why he cares about children. He's why he cares about elderly. He foundations and about the earth, so much so. He's very sensitized to everything that's life, in the planet, and everything that exists. You know, us all. And Michael knew that, of course, from his core um, foundings, and that came along with the spirit. And I'm that way too. And that's why Michael and I said, like I said, we parallel. We recognize it. The elders are saying that goes, like recognizes like, and we both
Hmm.
have that like and light in us. And he recognized my light. He gravitated towards me, and we always talked a lot. And he said, "You feel the same way I do on a lot of things." He would say that. I say, "I know. I have to recognize that you." And I feel the same thing. A lot of things you say. Just he was trying to learn me, and he realized that we was on torn from the same page, and spoken from the same sentence, from the same paragraph, from the same book that is. And we gravitate towards one another, and we wanted to always play together, work together. And he became my dance partner, so I provided the beats from the dance too, and I was inspired by his dance, so I played better. So anyway, all that's a long explanation, but that's what it is. But I better get going. My friend is out waiting for me. I'm so sorry to cut
Okay.
this short. I was supposed to be
Okay.
15 minutes. I think I've been at half an hour.
Ah, no, Jonathan.
I,
Okay,
I, I
well,
don't mean I don't mean to cut it off, but I have to. These guys came in town to work with me, and I have to. He's out sitting out there.
I
He
know.
didn't want to be in here when I was on the phone, so he's sitting in the hot sun
Oh
waiting for
no,
me.
Jonathan, we wouldn't want to keep you or them waiting too long. But just one more question. I hope you don't mind us asking you, and it's more just about you, just generally. Just to wrap this episode up, Jonathan, are there any projects that you're presently working on, or any ones upcoming that you're working on that we can find a little bit more information about? And also, is there any messages you'd like us to circulate to the fans around the world there? Because you're so well renowned, and this is going to be a huge episode. I know when this drops on all like platforms, everyone's just gonna be like, "Wow, that's big, that's major." So, yeah, any final messages? Before you go.
There are a lot of things that I'm working on now. And I feel like I'm in my second stage of my career, even with all
Oh,
the things that I've done. Now it's me time, and I've learned so much. And I've been writing since I was 12 years old. So I'm in the studio. I was in there last night doing some touch up mixes on my music. I've been writing since I was 12 years old, and I've been producing. I've written and produced for Paramount Pictures and Coming to America movie. I have a song in there. I wrote and
Wow.
produced it, sang background on, and produced it on Chico DeBarge. So I've had published music for film companies and stuff. So and I've written for Latoya. I've written lyrics on her one of her songs. I've written for quite a few people. So now it's time. I said, you know what? I got about 200 songs waiting in the wings that since I was feeding everybody else's career with my talent and my gift and helping them become stars. It's time for me, some me time. I felt the season. You got to feel
Mhm.
your seasons in your life and know when to make the right steps, the right move. It's time for a change. So I'm not trying to go out with anybody else. Michael's gone. I won't do Michael impersonators. I got to be loyal to Michael and be loyal to the truth that is him.
Mhm.
I get called all the time for that stuff, so I don't really tour so much anymore. I am going to be doing my own tour, which is part of it's going to be Michael's music, the brothers' music. It's going to be a culmination of everybody I work with. Be Elton John's music, Madonna's music, but of course at the end I'm gonna do an hour of everybody else's music, but then the last second hour is going to be all Mike, and that's going to be a great strong show because I'm the common denominator for all those people on my resume. But I'm working on my music. In the last month I've cut 30 songs. I've recorded my own
Wow.
songs and one or two remakes. So I'm in the studio working on that now. It's forthcoming before the end of the year. By late summer, I should have. I'm be dropping songs, individual songs, before then. Say June, July. You'll be seeing the first from me. I'm working on a lot of new videos and stuff. I got a lot of production equipment to start producing a lot of videos by the end of the year. You'll be flooded with videos, new videos from me. Uh, um, I'm working. I just spoke to someone for that approached me for a book project. I've been always wanting to do a coffee table book, oversized coffee table book of my life and career, and of course my story, magical story, and then a lot of elements from my life. I save everything from every tour. I have statisticals. I got all the tour programs. I got the tour itineraries. I got great photographic library. I got very good video library.
Oh, Jonathan, I think you've cut out there for us. We Can you hear us, Jonathan? Oh no, I think we've lost the connection. Hopefully his reception improves. Let's wait a couple of seconds and see if. Oh no. Well, guys, unfortunately that one ended a bit abruptly because I guess Jonathan's reception just wasn't so great, and obviously he's on the move. But we still like really, really, really appreciate his time. That was such a meaningful conversation. I took away so many nuggets of information and just like stories there, which was so insightful. And his work rate is so impeccable and really, really inspiring just to even see at his stage of his career. Like most people would be content, having lived off of like I guess the success that they've had, previously with one of the biggest stars in the world. But to see that he still wants to go, he still wants to innovate himself, he still wants to push and create new music and, touch people in the ways that, with modern music, you can argue there's a bait that hasn't been so present. I think it's amazing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that new content as well. And hopefully, at some stage, we can get Jonathan to come to the UK as well, because it'd be amazing to go and see him in person as well. And I was too young probably to watch Michael when Michael was still like around. So I guess this would be probably the best experience to get to that. So, a huge shout out to Jonathan Sugarfoot Moffett for his time this afternoon. It was really amazing to have him here. I feel touched and very inspired by all of his kind words and meaningful kind of responses here today. And I really pray that at some stage or point in the future we can get him on for another episode. I'm pretty sure Georgina's going to work on Magic Wand. We talked about a lot of magic, and Georgina's quite a magical person too. So I'm very positive that we'll make that work out. But in other words, guys, we hope that you enjoyed this very surprise impromptu episode. I can see that Georgina's just sent me another message saying that we will try and get Jonathan back at some stage so we can like delve into some of the other stuff as well. Because so many like just like rabbit holes and just other kind of ways we could have ventured into the conversations there. But nonetheless, we're super grateful and thankful for his time, because it just means so much to us, and it's a great conversation. So, guys, we will be back again with a couple more episodes later this week. But until then, we hope that you stay healthy. We hope that you stay successful. We hope that you stay prosperous. And as always, keep your eyes out also for the YouTube channel. Going to be uploading the podcast there as well. There'll be some live episodes where we're going to get you guys on there on top of that too. So yeah, really exciting times ahead for stripping the dipping. Denzel Clarkson, aka Block Nose Boy, I'm gonna go and get some lemsip and try and get some rest because we got some other episodes to record later in the week. But until then, guys, thank you as always for your support. And yeah, we'd love to hear back from you. Just put any comments or any insights or feedback from this episode because I know that there's a lot of talking points. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did because this was really mega. But until then, take it easy, guys. Peace.